3, and today we're going to be looking at the area of historic magic that I like to ponder, as I believe this area and time I'm about to discuss contains many secrets to the rest of the world and our development in magic and sorcery. So I introduce to you the roots of sorcery in Central America. Okay, the history of the Toltecs and the surrounding regions, including the Mayans and the Aztecs, is a colourful and rich epitaph of the age of dreaming, a time when the world was not distinguished by capitalist greed and the poor indigenous communities feeding on scraps, but it was an age where a community came together to delve into the worlds of dreaming and became open to their allies. The priests and magicians also came to master the drawing together of the physical and the energy bodies to achieve great feats and wonders, such as shape-shifting, teleportation, and a complete phase or shift into other worlds with their physical body. There were no boundaries on imagination, and doubt was practically a heresy, because the people as a community were open to understanding these skills and exercising these skills both collectively and individually. Their personal power still resides among many tribes and the land itself. You can go to outback Australia, Peru, Mexico, South America, Brazil, Canada, Siberia, and you'll feel the energy that resides in these lands. Now the thing is, much of the land has been subject to mistreatment by the doubt of man and woman of the civilized rational society. Now the Popol Vuh is a great story that identifies the fallacies of becoming stagnant and lazy as a society, becoming greedy and losing awareness of the environment and your habitat. The story is set around the incarnation of Quetzalcoatl and his rise to the rule of the city of Tula. He becomes lazy while treating his people well, and they become too content in their share of prosperity. At this, Tezcatlipoca rises up, a young sorcerer, and he begins to lay siege to the city of Tula through manipulation, power, and his splendid cunning of magic. He hates what the city's become, and so much that even after driving Quetzalcoatl out of the city, he continues to conspire against the people until Tula is completely desolate and barren. Quetzalcoatl goes on to fulfill his destiny by taking back his father's bones and wrestling his Nawal in the underworld. He goes on to become a divine being and returns to his people. And yet he couldn't have fulfilled his calling without the actions of Tezcatlipoca. Now the difference with these stories compared to the West is that the dark sorcery is just as equal, if not more important, than Quetzalcoatl. They're equal opposites, so to speak, and the stories are not about overcoming triumph of evil and overcoming evil, but rather the maintaining of a higher awareness. Quetzalcoatl became lazy and focused on the joys of the world and his own pleasures rather than leading his people into a nation, as a nation into a state of higher awareness. So he's forced into his role by Tezcatlipoca's actions. During Quetzalcoatl's wandering, he meets with his energy body. It's what the Mexicans call the Nahual. It's important to note at this point that much of Western ideology seeps in here, as it does with every other indigenous teaching. We draw things from other cultures, other understandings, and mix it with our own dualistic sense of Christianity. And much of the world and the indigenous peoples have become corrupted and contaminated, thanks to the conquistadors and the Christian missionaries who go around forcing them to change their stories and their history. So the Nawal is not part of our being as a spirit, and it is not our soul. The Nawal is our double, our image that exists in the dreaming. It is our body of transport and our body of knowledge. But it is not, in the sense that we understand it, our spirit, our soul, or our mind. It is our energy body, our double, and it lives in the worlds of dreaming, as we live in the physical world. In quantum mechanics, it's said that a particle can exist at opposite ends of the universe, and yet they're still the same particle. It simply exists in two states at once. And this is the same as the teachings of the sorcerers of ancient Mexico, as handed down for centuries and centuries from the old sages of the ancient worlds, the Atlanteans and the Hyperboreans. This crux, the crucial point of sorcery, is to call the Nahual and work towards the complete assimilation of both bodies as one vehicle, always separate yet joined in awareness by the act of intent. The best explorations and examinations of this teaching in current times is that of Carlos Castaneda. Whether you accept his work as truth or fiction, his theories and teachings expressed by Don Juan, in my opinion, are correct and achievable. As I've mentioned in his teachings, which are the ancient teachings, they're an exact human representation of consciousness, represented in the theories of quantum mechanics. I've achieved the second attention, and the second gate of awareness in dreaming. I continue to work on it daily. I work on my awareness and seek the assistance of the allies to give me power. That is, the allies call the Nahual. The energy body calls us closer to us, and we learn to shift our assemblage points and find the middle path. So as your perception begins to change, the world seems less dramatic and less heavy. So as you begin to expand your awareness, the self begins its journey. I'll talk more about this in part 4. Cheers.